Campaign funding has been a thorn in the sides of U.S. politicians since the first few elections, especially in a country as big as ours. Most of the funding today is done through individual donations and fundraising events, but there is another way that has been heavily debated for the past century. Corporate contributions, a way for corporations to support their favorite politicians directly. On the surface, it seems like a good cause, since corporations are made of. But once you dig deeper into the past, it becomes clear that corporate contributions are much more than that. Stories of corruption and corporate empires are common among the subject. And to stick this one right on, because I didn't know where else to put it, campaign contributions by corporate lobbyists should remain illegal because it would just lead to more corporate influence in the government as well as more corruption. Background history. Historically, corporations have used their power and wealth to influence politics, but almost none of this influence was used for good. When one thinks of such corruption, 19th century United States may come to mind. This was a time of child labor and sweatshops, which might I add are still around today in other countries. But campaign funding was mostly corporate back then, and came at the cost of political favors. Eventually, all of this was suppressed through bills like the Tillman Act in 1907. It just shows how bad things can get if businesses have too much influence on politics, but it gets worse. In the year 1600, the British Empire created a company, East India Company, to be a monopoly on British trade in that region. As it grew, its influence did as well, to the point where the East India Company was the government of the British Raj. But it ironically became less and less profitable as tons of its profits were flowed directly into the pockets of executives and supporting politicians. A paragraph of reasoning. Today, there are laws in place to stop such events, and almost all corporate influence is done through a lobbyist or donated with soft cash towards their politician of choice. A corporate lobbyist is someone who is hired to influence politicians in ways the company wants. Thus, donations from corporate lobbyists are really from the corporation that pays them. By allowing corporate lobbyists to make campaign contributions, we are creating a loophole for companies to give money directly to the politician. This is problematic, considering that rather than persuading through words, the corporations can persuade with wealth. And that is corruption, my boys. Me saying the other side is wrong. Some people may refute this argument by citing the First Amendment. In summary, it gives people the right to say what they want. In fact, the Supreme Court ruled in Citizens United v. Federal Election Commission against more restrictions for corporate donations for campaigns, in a 5-4 vote. But this was followed by major public backlash, as well as a response from Justice Stevens. In his response, he argues, although they make enormous contributions to our society, corporations are not actually members of it. He makes a very good point, as corporations should not be considered people. All actions of a corporation are planned out and designed to increase profits. Corporations do not even reflect the political beliefs of those who work for it. Corporate lobbyists, being more like pawns of the corporation, should not be allowed to contribute to political campaigns. Conclusion. Throughout this essay, you may have caught on to a reoccurring theme. I wanted to wait until the end to truly acknowledge it. But now that we are here, I would like to point out that allowing corporate lobbyists to donate to political campaigns is basically legalizing bribery. During my little history lesson, I pointed out that money was a huge driving force for all the events to occur. And by allowing corporations to give money to influence politicians, we are destroying the democratic system our country is built on. So, in conclusion, corporate lobbyists should not be allowed to provide campaign contributions.